And also, Victor Elvis has aptly captured this also. You can see this, I just showed you much earlier as we were beginning the program. The handshake has not trickled down yet. This is what is happening. So underneath this, maybe this about the story about Miguna Miguna epitomizes what is really happening with the handshake so far. And we know this has been effusively praised by many. And also we had also a searing criticism from many as well. So that in equal measure. But what does it really portend for this country, this handshake? We thought, yes, we know the outcome of Miguna Miguna. The thing was that, yes, the swearing in is or began all this saga that we can see, but did also the handshake brought together maybe resolution to such stalemates that we are having so far? And why also are they mealy-mouthed about this? Is there any interface or good communication between, intergovernmental offices as well? We want to rope in our panelists who are here this morning just to weigh in. Yesterday we looked at the politics side of it, but today, every Wednesday is all about security. So what does it portend when it comes to human rights violation, right? We know the question that has been also peppered about his of course, citizenship here in the country. Is he a Kenyan? Is he Canadian? Did he, of course, forfeit his citizenship as a Kenyan? So that we know is also debatable. But of course, documents have been presented, and the lawyers of Miguna Miguna said no, he's never denied his or forfeited his citizenship. So that has been stoutly denied. We want to hear this morning from Dr. Khannenje to tell us what he thinks about the human rights violation about Miguna Miguna. Also, the utter, manhandling that he was also, put into yesterday. Big shame for a country. And of course, you can see the splash on the Daily Nation today is all about Miguna. Nightmare. To you, is it a nightmare?
I think nightmare is an understatement, Debarl.
Nightmare is an understatement.
Yeah, it is. This handshake we saw between the president and the former prime minister was a good sign. And a lot of Kenyans and people out there who actually have an interest in Kenya are very hopeful of where the country is heading to. And I still want to believe that the two gentlemen, the president and former prime minister, still committed to moving this country towards healing and national cohesion. Now, having said that, what we witnessed 2 days ago,
yes,
the way the police and the immigration department handled the Miguna situation is shameful. It is embarrassing, and frankly, it's primitive. If you want to know a classic example of how banana republics behave, that is how they behave. I want to believe as a country we're better than that. Up to now, you've had two court orders that have been disrespected, yes, and they're not being honored actually by certain agencies, including the police. And I just don't understand how we can call ourselves a country that believes in the rule of law when we cannot respect the basic rights. If we cannot be able to strengthen our institutions such as the judiciary, I do not know what we're doing. Now, beside what was being, for instance, done to Miguna, and of course there are certain cases and arguments about it, but look at how journalists were handled. Just this past week, on this panel, on this show, yes, we were trying to defend our police service and actually complain that they are underpaid and they live in horrible conditions. But then you see how they react, and especially how they treated our journalists. It's very hard to make a case, actually, in terms of encouraging certain positive changes that may profit the police. And it is something that has been going on. It didn't start today. What I'm hoping is that our law enforcement becomes a little bit more professional, so they actually don't handle citizens, and especially the media, the way they did, because it's not just intimidation. What happened 2 days ago has been splashed all over the world. It's so embarrassing to discuss with colleagues and outside there, and they're asking what is happening in Kenya, and yet just because of one man, we are almost bring the country to a standstill. I don't think this is something that should continue. And I think the agencies involved should revisit this, and I'm hoping that the president might use his counsel to implore upon some of these agencies to actually stop behaving stupid.
All right. And of course, just maybe to give you a full scale of what is happening, because he's also sent a statement and said, I am detained inside a tiny and filthy toilet without access to basic hygiene and necessities of life. The respondents haven't provided me with food, water, and medical attention, in addition to not according me my rights or my right to counsel. I have no access to a bathroom. I have not taken a shower since Sunday, March the 25th. The toilets where I'm being held has no shower or bathtub. There is only hot water in the toilet. Hence, I'm also unable to wash my face and brush my teeth. Right, and of course, this is just to give you also the picture of what he's really subjected to. And we're speaking, it's not really about Miguna Miguna. It's about any other Kenyan who has no, maybe the voice that Miguna Miguna has and the attention that Miguna Miguna has, but can be subjected through such harrowing tortures as well. Let's hear from Professor Noah Midamba.
Debarl, it was just 2 days ago I was on the phone with a group of my friends who was a group of business people in America who are very optimistic about coming to this country to invest. Let me go back to the bigger picture and what the image that we saw a while ago. What does the handshake mean to you and me as a Kenyan? It set a very powerful imagery that we can coexist peacefully as Kenyan, that each one of us is responsible to make peace in this country, that none of us is above the law, that the door is now open to project a positive development trajectory for our country. And I have listened and have read all kind of reaction since the two famous handshakes take place. And some people are asking, what am I going to get out of it? Some people say, what's contained in that handshake? The point is, understand. Understand is going to take every one of us to make that happen, wherever we are. I, as a Vice Chancellor, must do my part as a Vice Chancellor. The policeman must do their part. The ordinary citizen must do their part. And this issue of mismanhandling Miguna Miguna cannot help the imagery that we have just created. Irrespective of what happened, whether he misbehaved or not, it is only the law court that can make that judgment. And it cannot be made by police. And we cannot afford to have marauding thugs at our famous airport when we are just about planning to fly to New York. That cannot happen. And this is unacceptable behavior, and whoever is responsible must justify to Kenyans what's going on here.
All right. Okay, let's just hear from Dr. Biar Ajak. Should we just gloss over these issues and say, of course, this is, Kenya. We'll have that saga, then tomorrow we'll have another shoe dropping and we'll pick up maybe as a media and we forget about, the former incident and we carry on with that story, never follow up on this. Let's hear from you, and welcome back, by the way. How is South Sudan?
Well, thank you very much, Debarl, for hosting me this morning, and we'll get back to South Sudan later on.
Yes.
But on this particular issue, let me say it's not something that you can gloss over. It's not something that you can say, let's move on and we'll come and discuss it another time. This is an issue that highlights the fundamental problems with the Kenyan state. What is really surprising here is you have a government whose claim to power is based on election, which is guaranteed by constitution, is upheld by the rule of law. So the law itself is the basis for which this government, this Jubilee government that is in power,
yes,
gets its mandate. And at the same time, the very same government is refusing to comply with orders of the court It's just mind-boggling. But let me start by saying this man called Miguna Miguna, in my view, is a national hero. And I think many of you in Kenya should celebrate a man like him. And the fight that he's having, it may be his fight because he's personally the one that is victimized currently. But in the long run, the fight that he's having today is a fight for all Kenyans. And I have to frankly say that I'm quite surprised that he has been let alone to go through this hurdle without any support. Of course, in the social media and the Twitter, you see people that are voicing their support. But I would have expected a more dramatic reaction from the Kenyan population, because you have a population that is fairly well educated, a population that is more informed, that have access to information. The images that are going on there at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, they are absolutely shocking. You would think that this is some other place and not Kenya. But this is the reality of what is going on in your country today. So it's something that should really should shock you, because it's a display of unchecked power, a power that has no accountability whatsoever. Not accountability to even the people that elected them, not accountability to the institutions for which they claim to govern the people. So it's a serious problem. It highlights a bit of the illusion in which you people in Kenya are living. That since you passed this constitution, whatever year that you pass it, the latest constitution, everything is okay. Well, no, everything is not okay. In fact, and by the way, I have to give you a proper analogy to what happened in South Sudan. We had a constitution that we thought was actually working and that was going to be respected by the executive. And then we began to see our president slowly chipping away at the constitution, issuing degrees. And now we are a country that is run by degrees. Every 8 p.m., everybody wait at the TV to see what degree will be issued by the president. No other institution anymore has any meaning. Judges are fired, everybody is fired. You have no idea what is going on. The states are divided. You have many states. He wakes up every day, he decides whatever you want to do, and then he does it. And this is how you get into these kind of problems, when you allow such serious violations to go on without any consequences. So what I'm asking the Kenyan people is this the kind of country that you want?
Is it the kind of country that we do want, right, where we don't follow the full letter of the law and the spirit of the law, Dr. Mustafa?
Yeah, Debarl, the drama that has been unfolding at the JKIA is unnecessary. We shouldn't be having this kind of stuff going on in one of the busiest airports in the world. It is embarrassing, and it's not something. If different actors did their job well, then we won't be finding ourselves in such a situation. In terms of accepting and respecting the court orders that were issued. But let me go back a little bit, Debarl, from the history that you gave. I said we shouldn't be finding ourselves in this situation that we are in today, actually. And let's look at the bigger picture here. That Miguna Miguna applied for Canadian citizenship way back in 1998. And what should have happened then is that as soon as the government, the Kenyan government, realized that he had applied or had been given another citizenship, it should have publicly revoked his citizenship then, not now. It should have done that at that time. So it appears that there is selective application of law. So when Miguna Miguna came back to the country, again, he actually worked for the Kibaki administration in government and having a Canadian citizenship while at the same time illegally having a Kenyan citizenship. And so action should have been taken way back in 2008 when he was working in Kibaki's administration under Raila Amolo Odinga. We won't be having this kind of trouble today if action was taken then. And if those who are following the law and would have applied the law then in 2008, 2009, then Miguna Miguna's citizenship would have been revoked then. And we won't be having the kind of drama that we are having today. The other point here, aside from asking the government to follow the rule of law and respect the court orders. Individuals also have to respect the law. Basic immigration procedures, Debarl. And this is what appears to be the bone of contention here.
Yes.
That the person in question here came all the way from Canada through Dubai using a Canadian passport, and what he should have done is just to regularize the citizenship as he is being advised to do so. So it's a problem on both sides. It's not just the government. It's also Miguna Miguna who has to follow the law and follow basic immigration procedures. Now, this does not mean that the government should act the way it is acting. It should not beat up journalists. It should also follow the rule of law and be respectful to the rights of individuals that actually are going, or journalists that are going to cover the story at the airport.
All right, let's just listen into, of course, the drama that was there. And here is Miguna Miguna actually with the pilot, and he was being forced into this Emirates airplane that was bound to be actually taken to, this is Dubai. First of all, when it comes to diplomacy and how we can handle this, what is the right procedure? Because I know most of you are diplomats here, and you're fully aware also of maybe international relations and diplomacy as well. When it comes to deporting someone, being held at the airport, incommunicado, and of course not being given also the rights to, just basic amenities as well. Where does this diplomacy lie?
Well, for Debarl, it's not really an issue of diplomacy when it comes to deportation of individuals. It's a matter of basic procedures of law. There is nowhere in the world, actually only very few places that cannot claim to be countries that are based on rule of law, that can just pick up somebody and you take them to the airport without any procedure whatsoever. But what normally happens, even initially when he was deported, there should have been a due process of law. I understand the argument that the government is making, that the previous Kenyan constitution did not allow for dual citizenship. And therefore, if you become a citizen of another country, you lose your Kenyan citizenship. That I understand. But make those arguments in court. Let the court be the one to now say your argument is valid, and therefore the citizenship of Miguna Miguna or whoever the person in question is withdrawn, and then now the court orders that you be deported. Mm-hmm. There are immigration courts all over. And this is the surprising thing about the choice of the Kenyan government. Even now with Miguna Miguna at the airport, I understand also the point that Dr. Mustafa was making, that he should follow the procedures and fill in the visa. Well, if he does that, his argument is that then he will be agreeing with the government contention that he's not a Kenyan citizen. Mm-hmm. And if he is a Kenyan citizen, then he does not need a visa to enter the country, and especially when his passport was taken by force by the Kenyan government. And then there is a court procedure. The court orders that this man be facilitated to enter the country and be made available in the court. And the government can still go back and make the same argument that this man lost his citizenship on this, and they explain why they were unable to take action back then. And if they win that argument, nobody is saying don't deport Miguna Miguna. The point here is, if you are a government that is basing its legitimacy on law, yet at the same time you are unwilling to follow the law, it raises questions about how do you even think of your own power? Because then you are driving your sense of power from your own thinking, not really based by law or by any norms whatsoever that hold the society together.
Mm-hmm. And of course, that's a very pivotal question that we should be asking ourselves. The question is, if then Miguna Miguna is countries of origin, so to speak, as according to the Kenyan government, since he's forfeited his citizenship in Canada, why was he being deported to Dubai? Or do you just take the nearest airplane to whichever country that you should be going, Dr. Khannenje? I don't follow. That's why actually I confess my ignorance.
No, you're right. Number one, Debarl, you cannot deport an individual to a country, number one, to a second country before you actually talk to that country about the possibility, and to a country where he's not a citizen, because he won't even be allowed to get out of the airport. he will also need a visa, first of all, to get to that country. Now, in this case, he didn't even have a passport. How was he even going to be allowed to actually even get a visa in a place like Dubai? And of course, the arguments on both sides, but that decision was actually very ill-informed. It was never well thought out, and we all had him insisting that he wasn't going to leave, and then telling the captain that he cannot fly because the captain is under legal obligation not to force him to another country that he doesn't want to go to, and especially a country that he doesn't belong, nor does he have any legal rights in those countries. And so everything looked really like buffoonery. It just looked silly and childish. And I hope next action that the Immigration Department and the police might want to take will be a little bit well thought out, because we've become a laughing stock to the rest of the world, and everybody's talking about us, really. Like, this thing needs to stop. It's a little bit of nonsense.
All right. So, Professor Noah Midamba, I almost call you Miguna Miguna.
Do I look like what? I'm not wearing a hat.
Yeah, but are we making a monkeys, out of ourselves in terms of image? What was really happening at the JKA yesterday? I mean, what sort of image are we portraying?
Debarl, I've been thinking a lot about that question you're raising. And the question is, do we really want peace and consistency in this country? Or are we comfortable with thuggery and this, ugly behavior? Is that what makes us kick in this country? Is that what is happening? Is that what our law enforcement has turned out to be? Then we need to really ask ourselves, can we really move from where we are right now? You asked earlier a question about diplomacy. All diplomacy is based on the right of individual and also the law and order. We cannot go beyond that. So the simple thing was to get this man and take him before the court. If he's violating the law, then put him in jail.
Thank you.
Period.
Put him in jail, period. All right, maybe you can give a closing remark on this, Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, Debarl, for me, it's just about the rule of law and order. So respect the court decisions. Take this man before the court of law and let the court decide. And secondly, observe immigration procedures. That's important. And when you look at the International Convention on Travel, including ICAO, the International Convention on Aviation, the captain did the right thing. He couldn't, take back a passenger who might have endangered security of other passengers in that plane. And what should happen is just basically to argue this case before the court of law, having the passenger in question observed immigration procedures.
Right, thank you. Well, we continue with the conversation. So we need to wind up on the Miguna Miguna saga as well. And the question will be, yes, did the government act in the wisest of fashion? Most of you have said no. Then were we actually making and lionizing Miguna Miguna with all this particular story? This was a very, simple matter that should have been solved very simply by the government, but we were making actually a mountain out of a molehill, right? Just closing remarks on this. Did the government react in the wisest of fashion? Do you think we should actually dedicate a whole hour talking about, splashes about Miguna Miguna? We have many pressing issues in this country.
It is shame on us, the way this situation has been handled. We better quickly correct it. We better take Miguna to court, read him his right in court, let the judge make that judgment, not the policeman, not the politician, not anybody else.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Peter Biar Ajak.
I think that cartoon captures what this drama has all become about.
Yes.
And essentially,
I think I've seen this cartoon before.
Yes, exactly. That man is now basically a superhero. the immigration department is unable to swallow him. And he's going to create something that is unprecedented in the country. He's going to enter the country with an ID. And it's because of how the government has handled this. So my advice is go to court, prove that he's not a Kenyan citizen, and then deport him. You can still deport him afterwards.
All right. What learning lessons are we gleaning from this particular saga? And even for the security agencies that are watching this morning, Dr. Khannenje.
I think if we want to be what we aspire to be, we should know that we are better than this. And a time comes when a growing country, a maturing country should stop doing childish things. And right now what we're doing in the eyes of the world is pretty childish and juvenile.
Childish,
the
juvenile.
handshake should be translated, transformed into something more tangible. It shouldn't just be between two people. Now we need to go beyond the handshake and look at what is it that is making this country stagnate.
So this handshake, is it just a posturing? If it's not really, cascading down to, very real issues like our human rights being violated. Because we thought that, yes, with all these ruffled feathers that we had before because of, the electioneering process, and of course we had a very polarized country, then the handshake should harmonize this. And the beginning also of Miguna Miguna coming back to the country should have been maybe the picture, being conveyed there. Other optics that, yes, now we're a peaceful country, and also the political divisions have been, harmonized, and we're progressing. Briefly.
Well, handshake is a powerful imagery. And President Uhuru and Honorable Raila Odinga cannot make it happen unless you and I do it. And that's what people need to understand. Accountability by each citizen of Kenya to do what they have, the ability to make that handshake meaningful. But don't turn on to the president and Honorable Raila to tell you what to do.